we could get 5% of their advertised 80,000 people, we would do wonderfully well. And if they reached out to another person, we would have succeeded probably better than on our own. So I took the task of pursuing what it would take to get us into Larkfest, and I have that. The other alternative was to look at the Riverfront Park in Troy and to understand what would it take for us to get that park. Let me do Troy first because that's the easiest. Their permit is online. There's no charge other than an insurance premium to indemnify the city, and she didn't tell me how much. I'm sure it's on the website on the application. And they asked that the application be completed with the insurance binder 20 days prior to the event, and October was pretty much open from what she could see on the calendar. They will accept requests for special services, police, block off areas, whatever.
We did choose September 26th as the date, which would be the following week
following
after the Larkfest.
And I think at the time I was speaking with her, either I went blank on that date or I was still looking at October. But September 26th is a good date. The schools are back in session.
There are plenty of opportunities to stress different messages, but this organization should be making it clear that there is a list of delegates for New York State, which will have been determined by that date. There is an election date of October 10th, and there is the Continental Congress in November 9th through the 24th.
So these endless undeclared wars and involvement overseas are a violation because they go on without declaration of war. So what they did was in 2002, but then again last fall, they presented 535 representatives.
So they're charging you for your own right. It's all about money. And the only two things that the politician respects is money and numbers. Money and numbers. If you can see somebody might take him out of office, like the NRA, threaten him with 35,000 votes, that worries him a little bit. But those are the only two things he respects is money and numbers. And basically, he's not really your servant. If he's your servant, he wouldn't be getting 3 times the amount of money you are for his salary. And when Patterson's calling him back in and telling him he's threatening them, he's not really threatening them if they get $160 a day extra for showing up down there.
Wait, hold on. Let's get back. Bill, you said you had a brainstorm idea before I came over there. Was
absolutely. When we were reading, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come in. When Kevin read the Declaration of the United States, he stopped at the bottom of the second paragraph. He stopped at, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. And then they went down and they listed the grievances. He has refused his assent to laws most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically what these are charges. Why can't we just use, in our handouts, we hold these truths to be self-evident and follow through with the charges against our government? Run an exact parallel to this, using this as backup all across the board.
It was like that more. The federal government was decorative. There was no real federal government. And so you didn't have any central authority by massing taxation dollars, being able to have the whip hand over the states. Because if someone controls your money flow, they control you, essentially, because they can decide how and if you'll spend your time doing fill in the blank. And so by pulling it under one federal government, it guaranteed the current situation. Because with that much power, how could it not be corrupt?
Take back lost ground by trying to figure out a way to challenge the concealed carry permit laws in New York State and have a more Vermont or Alaska style law.
Okay, and we would do this on constitutional grounds. And what we can do is get in touch with the constitutional lawyer and one of our resources.
You got contact information?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and actually, he contacted us. So,
what we have is 2 people that are interested in getting a handgun license. One's in Albany County, the other is in Saratoga County.
Sure.
And then we'll put it through the proper way by putting down for personal protection rather than the classic hunting target that they tell you. When the letter of denial comes back that you can't have it that way, then we'll go meet your people.
Okay.
So that would be action, and we'll do it on an actionable level rather than
Right.
you know.
What else do we have? Logan, what was going on over there? Philosophy of Liberty.
We were discussing some of the underlying problems, like people not reading bills, pesky things like that. Part of the key problem that we ran into is the massive complexity of the situation because of the number of people and because of the amount of money in it. We're pretty much in agreement that less government means more freedom. And also, I bounce around the idea, based on the quote you read, that when the government is no longer under the consent of the governed, they should find a new one. The government has never represented me, and nor has it any of the people in the group, so probably we should make a new one. It doesn't say, when that happens, try and fix the one you have, because I'm not sure that works very well.
Okay.
Obviously, that group was getting a little bored with the prior discussions. Step it up a little bit.
Nothing.
The key for making changes is for good people to step forward and run for public office in your towns, in your communities, and you change the system from within.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the way to do it.
Yes.
So that's good, and that ties in with the way we do things. We look at the Continental Congress effort, and that's proactive, external to the existing system, and largely one of the reasons why we're not involved specifically in politics. But then we have other actions that can be taken within the existing system, all the way down to within the. We've seen some call for it locally within the existing parties, where people would flood the membership and get their primary candidates to challenge the establishment primary candidate.
Media team has agreed we're going to go after two venues. September 19th, Larkfest. We're going to take that booth. The objective is going to be to work the crowd, press the flesh, meet people, and get our message across. And we're going to do the following week, the 26th, the following Saturday at Riverfront Park, which will be a music message get-together. And there's talk about another event the week after to continue the momentum and to drive another objective which wasn't quite set yet, but I think it's a neat idea to try to keep the movement going. We're also going to develop a quick notice out to all of the media communication channels so that we can push the button and do sort of what Patrick did this morning on very short notice. We're going to set that up, and I'll be driving that. And if I can read my notes, that's pretty much it. We're going to push ahead and get the permits and then come back and ask for some help with some of the specifics.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
In a booth, someone walks up to you, in 25 words or less, how do you tell somebody what we do?
It's a great question.
It is. It's the elevator pitch. Get it down to 25 words. And what we're attempting to do is to honor the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and encourage our public representatives to adhere to the components of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's what we're about and what we're trying to do. But he has an excellent point. We need to get that down to an elevator pitch so anybody can give it at any time, maybe even reduce it to the back of a business card. And when you hand it out, here's what we're about.
Sure.